Hi, it's me, Dan. This week we were supposed to play 3 games and talk about them, and then cover rules and talk about them. So let's get into it. So the first game was Half Minute Hero. I played that about up to stage 4, and actually I had fun with it. I thought it was pretty neat and had a certain amount of charm to it, and the music also was pretty great. And yeah, I had fun with it, and I'll probably play more of that later. The next one was Antichamber, and at first I didn't really care for it, but then playing it, I sort of found myself more engaged with it, and it was definitely interesting. I played that for about 40 minutes, and I will say I think it was kind of a little bit disconcerting. I mean, you're wandering around and it's empty and abandoned, and there's also kind of some spooky stuff in there. Not spooky, but unsettling. Like you're walking a room and it says "Don't look down," and then when you look down, it drops you, and that was kind of neat. And I'll probably play more of that later. And the last game was Potato Man, which I didn't buy. I watched some YouTube footage of it, and it reminded me a lot of the game I Want to Be the Guy, in that there's lots of platforming and it's difficult. I probably wouldn't buy it because it seems like I would get frustrated pretty quick with it. So moving on to rules, there are 8 rules present in games according to the text. The first one being operational rules. The operational rules are what the player can do to play the game. Next is the foundational rules. They're kind of the underlying structure of the game. For example, I think the example in the text was given that if there was something that would increase a player's strength between 1 to 6 randomly, that would be a foundational thing. Next is behavior rules. This is basically good sportsmanship rules. I don't know, stuff like in a racing game you don't drive backwards on the track. In competitive multiplayer, you aren't you don't get angry and aggressive at your own team. Just general, good sportsman kind of stuff. Next is written rules. These would be written instructions that actually come with the game. And then there are laws, which are kind of referred to as tournament rules. They are for in serious competitive play, what people would use so everyone's kind of on the same level and same understanding. Famous tournament rules are for like the Smash Bros. Community, where they pick the boring flat stage and they turn off all the items, and so then it's just supposed to take out any element of randomness so everyone can fight on the same level. So the true winner would be the person with the highest skill. Next is official rules, which is taking laws and then merging them with the written rules. I can't really think of a good example of this off the top of my head. I want to say kind of maybe Griffball and Halo is kind of like that, where it started as kind of specific tournament rules for a gameplay type that people were playing, and then later it became an actual game type in the game itself, sponsored by the developers. But I don't know, that one might be a bad example. Then there's the advisory rules, and these aren't so much rules as they are general tips. This would be kind of if you're playing the game with a friend and they're unfamiliar with it, you'd give them tips like, hey, you should grab that item, or there's a shortcut here. Anything to kind of help people out and give them a couple tips. And lastly, there are house rules, which are kind of rules that you come up with on your own. An example with house rules that I know I had a friend mention, and I've heard other people come up with it, is kind of in Smash Bros. Melee. There's you can kind of set and play with the handicaps to create one really tough character, and then you'd work with your friends to try and fight the one tough character. Another famous example of house rules is in Monopoly, where everyone puts money on free parking whenever they have to pay into the game. Because if you look in the actual rules, it says that no one gets anything from landing on free parking, but plenty of people have the house rules set up so you get money there. So the game that I'm going to apply the rules thing to would probably be Fallout New Vegas, but since it's a single player game, um, a lot of the kind of rule structure don't apply. You don't. The good sportsmanship one isn't there because there's no multiplayer. There's no use for tournament rules. I suppose you could set up your own house rules for a character, in that if you were playing a character, you could try and limit yourself by saying, this character is now a jet addict and they can't get clean, and I have to have this character use jet all the time. Just to try and, develop the character and give them a personality. That would, I don't know, that probably isn't house rules because it's not really in competitive play. But foundational and operational, all those rules, still apply. So, and lastly, talking about New Vegas, talking about goals, I would say that you could definitely identify the goals in the game if you want to kind of ignore all the extra stuff and focus mainly on the main goals. The the very first goal presented in the game is to get revenge and find the man who shot you. So right off the bat, the goal is find him, and I think that's a pretty solid goal. And it definitely seems achievable, and you can make progress on it by, walking and talking to people, and they kind of lead you around, and then, as you make progress. And then the reward to that, obviously, would be getting revenge, whether you do it there in the casino or, later at Caesar's camp or whenever. And plus, I know a lot of people took his suit, and so that, bam, right there, that's a reward. And then the next kind of goal is this one's a little more abstract, but it's kind of finding who you're going to align with. Whether you align with the NCR or Caesar's Legion or House, or decide not to align with any of them. That's a pretty solid goal. Well, the goal being, finding your voice and where you stand in the Mojave Desert. And then the very last goal would probably be surviving the Battle of Hoover Dam. Depending on what side of the battle you're on, the goal is still the same, to try and stop, the other side. Either stop Caesar's Legion from advancing, or as the playing on the Legion side, stopping the NCR from defending. And yeah, I would say that that goal is very achievable while you're playing, and it does bring the game to an end, and that's rewarding in and of itself. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I guess I'll see you guys next week.